Imagine waking up after a crash to find your child missing, trapped in a ghost town filled with monsters lurking in every shadow. But what if the true horror wasn't the creatures, but the chilling secret buried beneath the ashes of Silent Hill? Would you dare step into the darkness to save someone you love, even if you knew you might never leave? Brace yourself, this nightmare is just beginning. In the dead of night in Ohio, Rose and her husband, Christopher, scour the area for their adopted daughter, Sharon, who has a habit of slipping out of the house whenever she experiences nightmares and sleepwalks. Rose dashes through the forest, crossing beneath a bridge, only to find Sharon teetering on the edge of a steep drop. The child gazes downward, seemingly transfixed by a fiery vision, an eerie scene of a girl engulfed in flames, before whispering a single word: home. Just as she appears ready to step over the edge, Rose lunges forward, tackling her to safety. Meanwhile, Christopher, rushing to join them, nearly collides with oncoming traffic as he dashes across the road. On the ground, Sharon writhes in distress, repeatedly murmuring home and Silent Hill, a pattern that has played out during her previous episodes. Determined to find answers, Rose informs Sharon the following morning that they will travel to Silent Hill to confront whatever force is haunting her subconscious. Sharon, as always, has no recollection of her midnight ramblings. Later that evening, Christopher arrives home from work and repeatedly tries calling Rose, but she refuses to answer. Concerned, he checks their computer and discovers her recent search history: Silent Hill, a ghost town in West Virginia, abandoned due to relentless underground fires. That night, Rose stops at a gas station, only to realize that Sharon's once innocent drawings have morphed into disturbing, grotesque images, one depicting a peculiar cross. When Rose questions her, Sharon recoils in fear, unable to recall drawing any of them. While Rose reassures her, a police officer named Sybil keeps a watchful eye from a distance. Inside the gas station, Rose inquires about the road to Silent Hill, but the cashier warns her that the town is no longer accessible. To make matters worse, her credit card is declined. She immediately calls Christopher, who admits to blocking the cards, insisting that Sharon needs professional treatment, not a reckless journey. Rose, undeterred, ends the call. Outside, Sybil approaches Sharon to ensure she's safe, but the child instinctively avoids engaging with strangers. Moments later, Rose returns to the car and drives away. As they continue their journey, Sybil attempts to pull Rose over. Initially, Rose complies, but upon spotting a sign for Silent Hill, she abruptly accelerates, determined to reach her destination. She crashes through a barricade at the bridge's entrance and speeds into a thickening fog. Suddenly, static erupts from the car radio, and Sharon screams in agony, clutching her ears. A spectral figure materializes in the middle of the road, forcing Rose to swerve. The car spins out of control and crashes. When Rose regains consciousness, Sharon is gone. The dense, ash-laden fog makes it difficult to see, but Rose stumbles forward, calling her daughter's name. The town appears desolate. A shadowy figure darts past her, prompting her to give chase into a dimly lit alley. Just then, an eerie siren wails through the silence. The surrounding environment shifts, darkness thickens, consuming the space. Rose flicks on her lighter, but its glow barely pierces the murk. A ghostly whisper calls, "Mommy." Pressing forward, Rose stumbles upon an abandoned stretcher, then freezes in horror at the sight of a mutilated body, clad in mining gear, suspended by wires that ooze fresh blood. A grotesque entity, Gray Child, emerges from the darkness. Its touch radiates an unnatural glow. Panicked, Rose turns to flee, but more creatures crawl forth, encircling her. They claw at her, tearing at her jacket, attempting to overwhelm her. Desperate, she finds a nearby exit and forces open a door, stumbling into another building. But the Gray Children pursue her, swarming like predatory shadows. Just as they are about to overwhelm her, their forms distort and disintegrate, and Rose collapses into unconsciousness. When she regains awareness, she is inside an abandoned bowling alley, faint music playing in the background. Staggering to her feet, she stumbles outside, only to discover that the road leading out of town vanishes into an abyss of fog. A mysterious woman, Delia, appears behind her, cryptically declaring that only the Dark One controls entry and exit from Silent Hill. She speaks of her lost daughter, Alessa, a girl who endured unimaginable ordeal. Spotting Sharon's photo, Delia insists that the girl belongs to her and attempts to seize Rose's locket. Rose shoves her away and escapes. Meanwhile, Christopher follows Rose's trail, seeking guidance from a man at a gas station. The man reveals that Silent Hill remains sealed off due to the ongoing subterranean fires, but a bribe convinces him to share a route. Rose, determined to uncover the truth, finds a clue in Sharon's drawings, an image of a school. Locating her car near the depicted location, she attempts to start it in vain. Instead, she calls Christopher, leaving a voicemail filled with static. At that moment, Sybil appears and arrests her, attempting to radio for backup, but her communication devices malfunction. Sybil reveals that she, too, crashed upon entering the town. Elsewhere, Christopher arrives at the bridge where Rose vanished. Inspector Thomas informs him that Rose's vehicle was found abandoned beyond the barricade, with no sign of its occupants. Furthermore, Sybil, one of his officers, is also missing. He reluctantly agrees to aid Christopher's search. Back in Silent Hill, Sybil attempts to escort Rose back to the station, but the road ends in a sheer drop, confirming that they are trapped in a separate reality. Forced to turn back, they explore further, encountering movement in the distance. Suddenly, both Rose's phone and Sybil's radio erupt with static. A monstrous figure emerges. Sybil draws her weapon, but before she can fire, the creature hurls boiling acid, which splashes onto her helmet. She rips it off and returns fire, defeating the entity. Rose seizes the opportunity to flee deeper into town. Following street maps on bus stops, Rose navigates the town and finds the school from Sharon's drawing. She notices the same cryptic cross on its door. Venturing inside, she locates an office, scavenges a flashlight and keys, and presses on. Meanwhile, Christopher and Thomas search in a parallel reality, unaware of Rose's simultaneous presence. Inside the school, Rose encounters a bird in a cage, a harbinger of danger. Minors appear, wielding cages of their own. She flees into the schoolyard and takes shelter in a burned-out classroom. On a dusty desk, she finds fresh handprints and the word, which scribbled repeatedly. Searching further, she discovers an old notebook belonging to Alessa. A flashback unfolds. Classmates cruelly mock Alessa, branding her a witch. A fleeting shadow catches Rose's eye, leading her upstairs into a restroom where she hears a child crying. She cautiously checks each stall, but in the last one, a horror awaits. An emaciated corpse wrapped in barbed wire hangs grotesquely. A hotel key dangles from its mouth. Overcoming her revulsion, Rose retrieves it. Just then, the minors approach. She locks the door and watches as they suddenly flee in terror. The siren wails once more, and darkness floods the space. The corpse jerks upright and regurgitates a tide of blood onto the walls. Terrified, Rose sprints away, dodging decayed bodies along her path. Downstairs, grotesque creatures infest the hallways, overwhelming the miners. Rose takes an alternate route, reaching a bridge overlooking the burning mines. Before she can react, a shadowy figure, Alessa, scribbles sinister drawings before abruptly falling. Rose stumbles into an alleyway, where she comes face to face with Pyramid Head. At the same time, Christopher and Thomas arrive at the school. Though their reality overlaps with Rose's, they remain unaware of each other's presence. Christopher is certain he senses Rose, her scent even, but Thomas dismisses his claims and orders him to leave. Back in Silent Hill, Rose collapses, overwhelmed. A swarm of creatures inches closer, but at the last moment, a hand pulls her to safety. It's Sybil. Blocking the door with a metal rod, Sybil reveals she is nearly out of ammunition. Without warning, a colossal blade slices through the door. Pyramid Head has found them. As the relentless pounding on the door grows louder, Pyramid Head forces his way inside, using sheer strength to widen the opening. The gap allows the nightmarish creepers to slither through, inching closer. In a desperate bid to hold them back, Sybil fires at Pyramid Head's arm as he attempts to rip away the barricade. The shot barely slows him down, but before he can advance further, an inexplicable shift occurs. The creatures begin to dissolve into nothingness, the towering figure vanishes, and the school regains its eerie stillness. With the immediate threat gone, Rose and Sybil agree to search for the hotel linked to the keychain they discovered. Meanwhile, Christopher faces increasing obstacles in his investigation. Forced to leave Silent Hill at the insistence of Officer Thomas, he remains unconvinced that the authorities are being truthful. Determined to uncover the town's secrets, he contacts the county archives, only to be informed that all records related to Silent Hill are classified. Unwilling to accept a dead end, he waits until the building is deserted and breaks in under the cover of night. Sifting through Thomas's reports, Christopher confirms the details of the underground fire, but is shaken to discover an old photograph of Alessa, Dahlia's daughter, who is the exact image of Sharon. Flipping the document over, he stumbles upon details of a chilling case involving abduction tied to room 111 of the town's old hotel. Back in Silent Hill, Rose and Sybil locate the hotel, where they hear a woman's cries for help. Outside, they find a frantic young woman named Anna hurling stones at Dahlia, screaming about sin and divine punishment. Before the attack escalates, the duo intervenes, allowing Dahlia to escape. Anna reveals that Dahlia was exiled by the town's fanatical survivors, labeling her a sinner. She also explains that she scavenges for food for the group of people still taking refuge in a church. Inside the hotel's mailboxes, they find one of Sharon's drawings linked to room 111. However, after checking every door, they realize the room is nowhere to be found. Their search leads them to a faded mural depicting a mass burning, an event the town's radicals carried out in a misguided attempt to ward off darkness. Realizing that the artwork perfectly aligns with Sharon's drawing, Rose takes a sharp object and begins slicing through the canvas. Behind it, a hidden door is revealed, room 111. Stepping inside, they find a jagged hole in the wall. Without hesitation, the women leap through to an adjacent building, but in the process, the sharp object is lost. Before they can regain their bearings, a small figure dashes past them. Rose gives chase, navigating across decayed debris hanging over a pit. She nearly loses her footing but manages to recover, finally catching up to the figure, Alessa. Instead of answering Rose's questions about Sharon, Alessa extends her arms, flames erupting from her skin. The fire surges, illuminating the space, and just as Rose blinks, Alessa vanishes. Sybil arrives moments later, tossing a rope to help Rose cross back over the gap. As they regroup, Rose voices her theory. Alessa was the one who led them to Silent Hill, orchestrating their crash to guide them here. Sybil notices another ominous cross symbol nearby, and Anna abruptly warns them not to speak Alessa's name. Suddenly, a swarm of birds bursts from the pit below. Anna's expression darkens. She knows what this means. "We need to leave now." A deafening siren wails through the air as the darkness begins to spread once again. The trio races through the fog-laden streets, making their way toward the church, which Rose recognizes from Sharon's drawings. As they approach, a mass of survivors emerges, rushing inside for shelter. Standing apart, Dahlia warns Sybil and Rose not to trust these people. Anna, filled with rage, hurls another rock at Dahlia, but before she can throw another, she is seized by Pyramid Head. In one swift motion, he peels the skin from her body and hurls it against the church doors. Inside, the survivors glare at Rose and Sybil with suspicion. Murmurs of witches ripple through the crowd, and within seconds, they attempt to evict them out. Someone snatches Rose's locket, fueling her frustration. Before the tension escalates further, Sybil fires a warning blast into the air, forcing them back. Their leader, Christabella, arrives, pacifying the mob. She reminds them that Anna's fate was the result of her own defiance, not the newcomer's presence. For hours, the radicals do nothing but pray. Meanwhile, Christopher takes his investigation to an orphanage, the place where he and Rose had adopted Sharon. The nun in charge refuses to divulge any information about the child's origins. Desperate for answers, Christopher's frustration boils over, but before he can press further, Officer Thomas intervenes, arresting him for breaking and entering. Later, Thomas reveals the truth. Alessa perished in the fire that consumed the town. He cryptically admits that the cult subjected her to unspeakable horrors, showing his scarred hands as proof of the town's long history of cruelty. He warns Christopher to abandon his search before it leads to his imprisonment. Back in Silent Hill, the darkness finally lifts. Christabella turns to Rose, offering guidance. She speaks of a malevolent entity controlling the town, cautioning that no one who has confronted it has ever returned. But if Rose truly wishes to find Sharon, she must descend into its domain. Resolute, Rose agrees. Christabella leads Rose and Sybil to the town's hospital, instructing Rose to memorize the map and directing her toward room B151, where the darkness is said to reside. As a precaution, she returns Rose's locket, but upon seeing Sharon's face, her demeanor changes. Realization dawns. Sharon is Alessa's mirror image. Christabella recoils, branding Rose a witch. Without hesitation, she orders her followers to stop Rose. Sybil fights back, shoving Rose into the hospital's freight elevator. One of the radicals grabs Rose's hair, yanking her back, but Sybil manages to incapacitate him and slam the doors shut. As the elevator descends, Sybil is left behind. The radicalists pummel her mercilessly, and with her fire weapon emptied of bullets, she is defenseless. Below, Rose steps into a corridor consumed by shadows. Creeping forward, she encounters a cluster of monstrous, faceless nurses, their twisted forms frozen in place. Realizing they are drawn to light, she switches off her flashlight and cautiously maneuvers through them. Her strategy works, until she accidentally brushes against one of them. The creatures react instantly, slashing blindly at the air. Using their frenzied movements against them, Rose dodges and weaves as they inadvertently strike one another. She finally breaks free, leaving the flashlight behind to serve as a distraction. Upon reaching room B151, Alessa's disembodied voice whispers, promising Rose the truth. A vivid flashback unfolds. Alessa, ostracized for being fatherless, endured relentless ordeal from the townspeople. Even the school janitor preyed upon her vulnerability. Manipulated by Christabella, Dahlia was led to believe that Alessa needed purification. In a horrifying ceremony held in room 111, Alessa was condemned to be cremated. However, the execution device malfunctioned, triggering the inferno that engulfed the town. Dahlia, realizing too late that she had been deceived, tried to save her daughter. Meanwhile, Officer Thomas risked his life, suffering grievous burns in his attempt to rescue Alessa. Surviving the fire, Alessa was taken to the hospital, her pain transforming into pure wrath. This suffering birthed a dark force, one that plunged Silent Hill into a perpetual nightmare. When the vision fades, Rose finds herself in Alessa's hospital room. The charred body of the girl remains, her spectral form standing beside a silent, blood-eyed nurse. Alessa confesses that Sharon was created from the last remnant of goodness within her, hidden away in the outside world to shield her from Silent Hill's curse. But Christabella now seeks to destroy Sharon as well. Rose, resolute, agrees to help Alessa seek vengeance. As Alessa's ghost embraces her, she merges with Rose, transferring her power. Meanwhile, Christabella captures Sharon and drags her to the church for a cleansing ritual. Sybil, bound and suspended above a fire, is burned before the radicals turns their attention to Sharon. Before they can proceed, Rose arrives, revealing the truth. Christabella's so-called protection rituals only birthed the darkness they feared. The crowd erupts in protest, but Christabella silences them with a swift pierce to Rose's chest. Blood seeps onto the floor, triggering a rupture in reality. From the depths, barbed wire erupts, tearing through Christabella, splitting in two. The radicals are unalived. As calm returns, Rose and Sharon leave, but as they step into their home, Christopher, standing in a different reality, sees nothing. The fog world still holds them captive. No one ever truly escapes Silent Hill. Could you survive the horrors of Silent Hill? Who do you think is the real villain, the monsters or the people who created them? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying mysteries that will keep you up at night.